The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show. Dan, Michael, Rob. Weekly update. We'll catch up with the latest news from Leeds United. Run the rule over what's happening at Ellen Road. Before that, we should mention that we are sponsored by
Levi Solicitors.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want more?
Please, if you don't mind, yeah.
All right, fine. Some of the stuff they do: wills, probate, conveyancing,
Litigation.
That
sounds exciting, doesn't it?
Ooh, it's about litter, about littering, prosecuting litterers is what that's about. Litigation. Other stuff they do for the negligences, the professional negligence.
Do you know what? I had a meeting with Levi's yesterday as we record this, and they're really pleased with how it's going, which is absolutely remarkable to me.
It's not remarkable to me.
I was just going to say that you've been doing this a bit slicker recently, but it's a shambles, isn't it, really?
It's not remarkable to me. It's a method of advertising that's previously untried.
Completely sloppy. So go on, tell me about the services quickly. 10% discount on your legal fees, by the way.
Just all the legal stuff.
Yeah. Dispute
Resolutions.
Commercial property.
It's another one. They're all good.
You a fan?
Yes.
levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball to avail yourself of that 10% discount. And we do thank Levi's for their continued tolerance of Michael's delivery of that read. Right, into it. What's been happening? Well, we're 10 games into the season. 10 games into the season. We recorded with Phil just before this, which will be coming out after this. But he was saying, doesn't it feel like more? Does it feel like more to you?
Yeah, it feels like we play every couple of days, doesn't it, in this league? You forget the slog of it.
It's the championship, isn't it? It has been it's been quite a reminder of what it really is like, which I think is maybe healthy for us.
Although I have to say, I am enjoying it more in the Champo than I did in the Premier League.
Well, we've won some games, haven't we? So, yeah.
And we don't have VAR to pick up on awful refereeing decisions, so they just have to stick.
It is better. We're just a better team. That's why it's better. We were saying this after we finished recording last night, that this Leeds team and this manager is definitely better than last season's Leeds team and various managers. And that is fun to watch. I think some of we were quite kind of calm after last night, and I think probably some people wanted us to be a bit more excited because we had won. But you kind of got to pace yourself, haven't you, over a 46-game season. Like, as a fan, it can just be so emotionally draining. I actually think Leeds have had a decent start, especially considering the context of August when it was just an absolute bin fire. A lot of the stuff around the club, we've come out of that really well, and I think it's been a good start.
Yeah, I feel like we've had some bad results in there. Southampton is probably the worst one, because the others I'm sort of willing to write off for one reason or another. You can go like, should have beaten Cardiff, but first day we were by far the better team. Like, whatever. Birmingham, bit of a soft penalty, last minute, whatever.
Real scratch side as well.
That doesn't count. Sheffield Wednesday.
Should have beaten them. In the middle of that, we had Sinistera trying to leave, didn't we? We had Nonto on strike. In fact, Nonto on strike was Birmingham, wasn't it? Yeah.
So we would have won that if he hadn't done that. So we should really have...
We should be running away with it ahead of Leicester.
We should be in second,
right?
As far as I can work
so
out.
morally in the
morally in the
spots.
automatic spots.
Well, we are in the top 6, and that is a good place to be, I gather, in this division. But you've been looking at the table, actually, haven't you, from last season? We were chatting about this in the office before we recorded today, and there was some interesting stuff jumped out to you.
Yeah, this point last year, Sheffield United were top on 23 points. Burnley, who actually won it, were on 17 points. So just a point better off than we are. And in third place was Reading, who are now 22nd in League One.
Right.
So that's not gone brilliantly for them from this point. And down at the bottom, Coventry were bottom, only had 3 points, although for some reason they played less games. I can't remember what that was, but they ended up with the playoffs.
Was that something to do with the stadium either not being ready or available, and they had to cancel games or something, whatever it might have been?
I can't remember, but yeah, they'd taken 3 points from 7, and Borough were 22nd, and they obviously got into the playoffs as well. So there's a lot of games to change stuff, I suppose, is what I'm saying.
Momentum is key, isn't it? So you either lose it, as was the case for Reading, and plummet down, or you gain it like Borough did and Coventry did. And I think that's why maybe, and you mentioned this as well on the Phil recording, which will come out after this, but did we underappreciate, we were a little bit ungrateful for the win against against QPR. I don't think we were. I think as you said, Rob, you just got to pace yourself and not get carried away, but just to keep the points ticking along, keep him, chalking him up on the board.
Yeah, the early part of that, the Bielsa promotion season as well, I looked at that, and into October we'd had 3 1-0 home wins in there as well, which at the time probably felt tense because we'd come off the back of almost going up, and it was like, well, this is the season, we need to go up. So those will have, there was the Brentford game where Nketiah came on and scored. There was the 1-0 against Birmingham and one against West Brom early in that season as well. And they were all, I suppose, fairly close games, and you just have to accept that 1-0's fine.
Yeah, maybe just because, I don't know, the football's not quite as swashbuckling as Bielsa's was. Farke's football, but it's that little bit more pragmatic, isn't it? Farke's football that I don't know. We're still just getting used to it, and we've felt a little bit emotionally homeless since like Bielsa went, because we've gone through different managers, and it's not quite being the same, has it? Nothing's going to be the same, though, is it? I guess
you just didn't believe in the Jesse Marsh project enough. You were scared to believe in it. I could sense that in you. You were scared. Why were you scared of it?
I'm scared of everything, Michael.
Why were you scared to love?
Just wasn't great, was it?
No, that was the main problem with it. It was terrible.
But yeah, so Farke's football is a bit more pragmatic. We're just sort of getting used to it. But then nothing's like Bielsa is the point, I guess, is it? But we just need to find what our identity is.
Yeah, I mean, Bielsa's so extreme. That was always going to be more jolting than anything else. I think we may be slightly confused as well, and maybe damaged by the fact that it feels like we finally got our big post-Bielsa idea, which everyone's happy with, but we're back where we started when Bielsa first rocked up, and it's like,
what was the point?
Yeah.
Speaking of identity, it was Gary Monk who took the arse with identity, wasn't it?
Who? What? Sorry,
was it Gary Monk who took the arse with Adam Pope's question about identity?
Oh, taking the arse. I was a bit confused by what you meant then. Yes, yeah, he was really annoyed by him because Pope was saying, well, I can't see anything here that you're trying to do. And he was like, well, that's because you're a dick, Popey.
Yeah,
was what he said.
Paraphrasing, yeah.
To paraphrase him.
But he was being linked to the Sampdoria job, which I thought was quite funny.
That would be a weird twist, wasn't it?
Getting the band back together and all that.
I think the reports in Italy are that he's kind of far down the list of potential appointments because it's really not going well for Rads and Andrea Pirlo, which is a shame.
If he could wait a bit longer, he could get Hecky. He's surely going to get sacked soon, isn't he?
What's happened to Gary Monk? Where is he now? Is he doing anything?
I do still follow him on Twitter. He does like occasional.
We're blocked from the Square Ball account.
Oh, I've not been blocked
because I called him a snake a lot.
Don't worry, I'll remedy that. I'll just reply with a little snake emoji to whatever he last posted. I do follow him on Twitter still, and he occasionally just seems to do kids coaching things as a bit of a like, oh, and here's Gary Monk, Premier League manager.
Well, he had this really promising career, and then it just stopped, didn't it? And then there were big fallouts with like Middlesbrough, and
he got a bit weird with Pep Clotet, didn't he?
Yes,
who seemed like best mates, and then the old James Featherstone story.
Yeah,
did something for his career, perhaps.
Yeah, the last thing he tweeted personally was, it's promoting something called My Soccer Profile Academy. Yeah, so he's doing that.
Yeah, when it comes to aggro, looking forward to us suing Everton for £300 million or whatever it is, or our share of £300 million.
Get right into them. We're not getting that money, are we?
Do you want it though? Do you want us to go after them?
Well, yeah, because they deserve it. The problem is, of course, they don't have £300 million. That will be the issue. If it's awarded to us, they'll be like, well, what can we do for you? You can have a bit of some players.
The interesting point there, though, Michael, let me throw this one at you, is that I presume if that was the case, would that be treated as a football debt? And if you do go bust, all football debts have to be paid if there's an administration. So you're potentially staring down the barrel of liquidation, aren't you, there, I guess? That'd be a shame. I don't want to liquidate Everton, but I'd like them to stop being naughty boys.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff they've done, the massive losses and the fact they've had, was it like more than double the COVID losses of any other club, it's obviously like needs looking at. And one of their excuses are we were going to sell Tosun for like £80 million, but then bloody COVID, no one wanted to buy him as it turned out. Yeah, it does need calling out. I mean, the problem is here that I would say it's really more of a governance issue than Everton's problem. They should have just not been allowed to get away with this for as long as they have. But it always takes so long for these things to actually come around that you end up giving rulings on seasons that were that are long gone. And at the point, even if we get the money, we're not getting our Premier League status back off it.
No, I was going to say, well, the EFL, for all its faults, and there are many, at least seems to be on top of this, whereas Premier League just almost doesn't want it testing.
Yeah, it's pretty toothless. I mean, if Everton don't have 300 million quid to give us, they should just give us their new stadium. They should build that, finish that, and we can just strip it for parts.
Sell it on.
Yeah.
Use it to rebuild Ellen Road.
Or just detonate it and watch it wash into the into the river.
How do you think that would sit in terms of environmental concerns? Because they had to do a lot of environmental work in terms of clearing out. I think they're like some sort of unique species within that dock, and they've left it so that in future that dock could potentially be.
What a surprise! Liverpool thinks he's got unique species. Oh, we've invented some new fish.
I was going to say it could be redocked.
Such a special river.
It could be redocked in future. That dock.
What do you mean? Sorry.
It could be redocked.
Redock it. All right. Okay. How do you do that?
Take the stadium out.
Take the stadium out and make it.
Take the infill out, but it could be redocked, yeah.
Okay. Let's do that. So we can't get the money, but we can detonate the stadium.
I think they would probably carefully dismantle the stadium as opposed to just blowing it up and tipping it into the Mersey.
We should wait until they get the stadium finished and demolish Goodison Park and just go, actually, lads, this belongs to us now.
300 million, though? Mind you, it's only our share of it, so it's probably 100 million each, isn't it? I would say. Loss of revenue and all that. So, yeah. We have to give money to Burnley. Sigh. But yeah, Liverpool have been crying as well, just while we're digging out Scousers. That's been fun, hasn't it?
I enjoyed how the audio just completely blew apart the conspiracy theories and instead just exposed that they're just not very good.
Just ranking competence.
They're just really not very good at handling the whole process. And that moment of them all sat there going, fuck.
Yeah. Oh, lads, we've really knackered this up.
But it was a goal. But we can't. Can we stop? Stop.
That sense of panic when you know something's gone wrong.
We've all fucked up at work, haven't we?
Yeah.
But generally, there's a bit more leeway for it, and you can just, you have a word with your mate. All right, just I'll say that I didn't get that email. What? You just deal with it.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
It landed in my spam box. I'm so sorry. Yeah, but it came from an internal email address. Yeah, but it must have been the subject matter or whatever.
There was a picture of a dick in it. I can't believe they did that.
That was my profile picture.
Unbelievable.
That was my email signature.
Listening to it unfolding, actually, there's a podcast called Cautionary Tales, which is quite good. It's a bloke from the FT does it, an author, but he did one about when the Oscars went wrong and they announced it as being La La Land had won it, and it all went wrong, and it was kind of explaining how that happens, and it explained systems. It went into longer detail about how other systems break down, like safety systems for nuclear power plants, and how
you want those to work.
You do want those to work, but
more than the Oscars. I feel like that's more important than the Oscars envelope,
and probably more important than VAR, as long as you're not a Scouser. But it did maybe. He was talking that about how when systems of failure are closely coupled, and
what does that mean?
And it means insofar as like the referee, in this case, the referee and the VAR are basically the same system,
right?
And when one fails and there's no time for anyone else to properly look at it.
All right, so there's not suitable distance between the referee and the VAR.
It's almost like inevitable failure when you add so much complication to processes and then you put these two things essentially into one process.
Right.
It's inevitable that it will fail. And I think that is what you saw there, that the whole process of them all talking all at once just didn't really work.
Yeah, even mind you, that a lot of the internal chat, I was saying this before, like it's a bit like communication with spacecraft. If you've ever seen like Apollo 13, the movie, or you've seen like the Apollo 11 documentary or whatever, there's Capcom, which is the capsule communicator. So they get, and it's one of the other astronauts who's not flown on this mission.
I thought they made Street Fighter.
They did, but then Capcom came from capsule communication. And so it was one bloke who was the conduit through which all communication to and from the spacecraft. So it was only one voice speaking to the spacecraft. And I think that's what happens with the VAR. The VAR chats to the referee with like a special ref button, but then the VAR is also talking to the assistant VAR on a separate communication loop. And then there's the playback, head of playback was the guy who flagged it up, was like, lads, this has gone wrong. And then there's the other guy, which was, I think it was named as Ollie, wasn't it, who is the guy who used to work for Hawkeye, the Tennessee ball people who oversee all this stuff, who is kind of the executive overseer of all of VAR. Like he's like the middle manager, if you like. So there's a whole loop of things going on over there. But then there's the one guy, the VAR, who's also talking to the refs. So he must have things in both ears. going on at once. But yeah, good process, guys.
A lot of expense to make a sport worse, and decisions not necessarily all that much better.
It has done exactly what we've said so many times, which is to just put the problem somewhere else, hasn't it? The point of failure somewhere else. It's just relocated it to Stockley Park.
Yeah.
But we do have the plus of Jurgen Klopp saying this has never happened before. A team has never had a goal wrongly disallowed.
Have you seen Wolves tweeting that exact point out when they played in the Cup, I think it was? They've clipped Klopp saying it, clipped Klopp, and then showed footage of when they had a goal ruled out incorrectly for offside.
I enjoyed Watford tweeting yesterday about it. The years back, it's probably gone back 20 years, there was a ghost goal that was given for Reading. It's interesting to watch the clip back because literally not a single person on the pitch is even claiming for a goal, and the ref's just pointing to the halfway line, and you can see everyone going, "What is the decision here? Why is it? Why is he pointing over there?" And then it's given. But Watford tweeted Reading saying, "Fancy a replay."
Which as well, I mean, there's a little bit of cuteness there by Liverpool doing this because they're dick waving, because they know there's not going to be a replay. But what this does is it positions them in a way where, I don't know, is it a position of power over VAR where they're perhaps going to benefit from some sort of unconscious bias or less scrutiny going forward? Or
I mean, the Big Six already benefit from an unconscious bias. It's just that on this one occasion, when they were playing Spurs, so I guess you could argue, but does one cancel the other out? But the amount of stuff that seems to go in the favour of penalty decisions that get looked at a bit more closely because it's
the Strauch red card, for example. Look at the way that was handled. Do we get a replay there?
Should do.
Yeah.
Go back to then.
Because there was
go at the Premier League.
There was genuinely absolutely nothing wrong with that tackle.
Yeah,
It was just an unfortunate outcome, wasn't it? Not that we're still banging on about it years later, because we're notoriously good at sort of forgiving and forgetting, I feel.
Well, I'm in the mood to forgive and forget when it comes to red cards within the last 24 hours anyway. Look, let's just say that game happened. Let's just say there was an attempt made to tackle Pat Bamford. It didn't go right for anyone. And we just move on.
Does Pat get banned, by the way? Because he got banned for that Villa dive and all that madness, didn't he?
I feel like he's trying to escape that by admitting that he did dive out of the way.
Yes, I dived, but it was a special kind of dive.
It was a nice dive.
Yeah.
I mean, watching
not a bad dive where I'm hurt.
Watching the highlights back this morning, he does get up and it looks like he immediately knows, this is wrong. And he is speaking to Begovic and the ref. And it does, I don't know whether he just said it at the time, he didn't touch me at all. But it wasn't great, was it? It's just a bit frustrating for Bamford because I thought he came on and played quite well and his movement was good. And then you just end up talking about him being a bit of a daft lad.
I wonder, you know when he was speaking to Begovic as Begovic was being almost escorted off at that point, I wonder what Bamford was trying to say to him at that point, because he went back over to him, didn't he? It was almost like a second round of discussions. I wonder whether he was saying, look, you didn't touch me. I've told him, and I'll tell him that it'll get overturned. It'll get overturned. But then I will step up and take the free kick and try and score against the outfield player who's in goal.
No, he very, very graciously put it into the wall as a protest.
Deliberately, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he did. Looking at the clip of him when it first happens, he's got the slight look of when the waiter brings you a bill and there's no drinks on it or something, and you think, do we pay this and leave?
Yeah.
Or do we fess up because it's
going to get taken out of his wages.
Well, there's about 30 quid worth of drinks missing off here, but
have you done that?
Depends where it is.
Right.
Depends on the establishment.
So who did you get fired then?
Chain. To be clear, my moral code on this: chain restaurant, I'm taking the free drinks. Small restaurant, I'm fessing up.
Right.
I don't mind a corporate entity losing some money.
Right. But even though the staff member will probably get their wages up.
Nah, they never know. Shit just falls through cracks.
Good to know, Michael. Rob, you've been watching the 21s as well. They lost to Wolves.
They did, albeit Wolves were helped by 5 first-team players who admittedly I'd never heard of any of them. They were all very Wolves. It was like a football manager sort of. There was 28-year-old journeyman goalkeepers from Salford and 18-year-old Uruguayan wonder kids because it's Wolves. But yeah, lost 2-0. Both goals were in the first half. Wolves were better than Leeds, but then Leeds came into it in the second half. Charlie Allen hit the post. Sean McGurk missed a penalty. It was a very good penalty miss, just blasted it wide and he proper whacked against the back wall of the stand. But yeah, the 21s are a bit weird. I think they've won 3 and lost 3 of their opening 6, but now the league structure's all really weird now. They just need to finish in the top 16. so there's not exactly much pressure there. But then they have a lot.
Imagine if life was that easy generally.
What happens if you don't finish in the
You
top
don't have to do that
16?
well. You just got to finish in the top 16.
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, because the whole like positive supposedly of this structure is that they play more games and there's like a lot of cup fixtures to fit in. So there's an interview with Scoobs on the Leeds View podcast, and he's saying how this really helps players get used to playing like Saturday, Tuesday. But then it's like you finish top 16 to get those extra games, and there's no relegation. It all like the game at Wolves just looked a bit fake, as under 21s football seems to do. And I've written for the blog about Sean McGurk because he's kind of sums up how weird this under 21s team is now, where it's kind of in between different iterations of it, and then you've got under 18s players coming up, and then there's like Sean McGurk and Lewis Bate kind of stuck there.
I've got the impression that like McGurk's still going to be in the under 21s when he's 30.
That's what I was writing about. He's like the old man of the under 21s, and he's only 20, but you do look at him and just kind of like, I think he's a good player. Maybe not good enough for Leeds, but I do think he's a good footballer. But you do think like, is aiming for 16th place in the Premier League to what you need to be doing with your career right now, or do you need to just go be a proper footballer somewhere?
And you mentioned the 18s in passing there. Do you see that Harry Gray played for and scored in the under 18s despite being 4 days short of 15 years old?
Wow.
That's nuts, isn't
Get
it?
him on the bench
Yeah.
for the first team.
Eddie, kids?
It's possible. Archie was talking about the possibility of playing alongside him, wasn't it? When in a very wholesome chat with Eddie Gray, Uncle Eddie, this week. That was on Leeds' YouTube channel. It's nice to watch it.
Nice.
Yeah, he just talks to me. It's lovely. How lovely! What a lovely club we are.
The Square Ball Podcast.